In this video, we're going to talk about how to become you 2.0, or with 2021 coming up, maybe we'll call it you 2.1. So the key to becoming a better version of yourself is to look into the traits that you possess and or what we call your identity. Your identity is who you believe you are. Let's say, for example, you're the type of person who is always kind, always caring. Well, if you're sitting in your car and you're waiting for your boyfriend, your husband to come back from walking into Whole Foods and you see a woman who's 90 years old pushing her cart and about to take those groceries out in the back of her car, if you're the type of person who's kind and caring, what do you think you're going to do? You will most likely exit your vehicle, offer assistance to that woman, help her load those groceries so you can be in alignment with the person that you believe you are. So think about the power of that for a moment. You take actions that support and are in alignment with the type of person you believe you are. So that's where the power is. All too often, we want to create this change in our lives and we want to be this person over here. Let's say it's a disciplined person. Like, I want to lose weight for New Year's 2021. My New Year's resolution is to lose weight, get more fit. Right? That's everyone, right? Well, you're like, hey, I need to become this type of person, but I feel I'm this type of person. So how do I bridge that gap? How do I close the gap to become the person that is disciplined, that does make better decisions, that maybe makes it a priority to work out, whatever it is that you want, right? You can take this any way you want. You could go as far as, I want to become a strong person. I want to be someone who's assertive. I want to be the type of person who's resilient. If you want to have things in life that you don't have now, you have to become the person you've never been. And to do that, one of the best ways to do it is to embody traits. So let's talk about that. So my name is Dr. Jay Kavanaugh of The Vibe Mindset, where we talk about how to raise your emotions, raise your vibe, get your imagination activated so you can change who you are, change your identity. Become you point two. I'm not editing that. Become you 2.0. See? Perfection is not something I strive for. I strive for it, but I don't always attain it, let's say. But anyway, so let's get back to it. So when we talk about identity, one of the key things that we recommend you do, and this is a very simple way to shift who you are. And when you hear this, you're going to say, is it really that simple? Well, it is if you're consistent. The key is the consistency. The how isn't the difficult part, okay? I'm going to give you that in a moment. However, the consistency is going to be you on your end, sticking to it and making it a focus in your mind, a priority in your mind. There's no such thing as priorities. Priorities, plural, no such thing. How can you have priorities? You can only have one priority. And if that priority is becoming you 2.0, then we got this, okay? You got this. So one of the most powerful states of mind, or brainwave states, let's call it, is called the theta brainwave state. Now stick with me. I know some of you are like, whoa, he's talking brainwave states. I thought I liked this guy. Now he's getting crazy. Hear me out. It's very simple. So what we know is right before you go to sleep, you go through these certain frequencies, these certain brainwave states. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because that's not the point of this video. However, one of them is theta. Now, the reason why theta is important is you go through theta twice. And what makes it important is that it is when you're most programmable. It is when you can program desirable traits into your subconscious mind. 95% of who you are is a program, okay? And that's all run by the subconscious mind. Theta, think of theta as like the gateway. The door opens when you're in theta, that brainwave state, when you're kind of relaxed and you're kind of about ready to fall asleep. That's when you're in that very highly suggestible time. That's when you can program desirable traits in your subconscious mind. Because consciously, which is only 5% of the time that you put effort and thought into embodying these desirable traits, it's a little bit of a challenge because it's not the core of who you are. It's not your belief system yet. It's not your true identity of who you believe you are. And so theta brainwave state, what you do is right before you go to sleep, you imagine with all 5 senses and also get into a very kind of relaxed, joyful, gratitude kind of type state. Be emotionally in a good place, okay? And what you do is you close your eyes, and just as you feel like you're starting to get more and more closer to falling asleep, you imagine in detail the type of person you want to become. I want to become more resilient, okay? You know what resilience is. You know what resilient people do. Imagine activating all 5 senses. What that one trait, focus on the one trait, resilience, let's say. What do resilient people do? And walk yourself through a scenario, kind of like you're Steven Spielberg and you're directing a movie. What would you, being resilient, look like? What would it feel like? What things would you do? Who would you be talking to? Kind of act out an example of what it would be. And what you want to do, here's the key. You want to imagine in such detail that you almost feel emotionally inside of you as if it's actually happening, as if it's real. So when you close the gap between imagination and reality, that's when things start to actually happen and things start to change. So the more real that what you imagine is, the closer it is to becoming reality. Because you're like, whoa, that just felt right. You know what? It feels possible. You know what? I feel like I can do it. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is the secret. Not sure if you heard me. Feeling is the secret. When you feel you can do something, or you feel what it's like to be resilient, you make it more familiar. Familiarity is the key. All too often, if something doesn't feel familiar, it doesn't feel possible, it doesn't feel. Well, when something's uncommon or kind of feels like kind of far away, or it feels like something that you lack, that you don't have, you got to close that gap. Always thinking about close that gap. Just remember my hands. Imagination, reality. Close the gap. How do you do it? The more clearly you imagine and the more you get that emotion of, oh my God, it feels real, the closer that gap closes, or the smaller that gap gets, and the closer it is to you actually becoming you 2.0. So let's get back to it. So when you're about ready to fall asleep, you activate that imagination, okay? You're going through that scene that we just mentioned. The emotions start to feel good. You're like, whoa, this almost feels real. Like, get it as real as possible. And trust me, at the beginning, is this going to be easy? First time you rode a bike, was it easy? First time you drove a car, was it easy? First time you cut an onion, how'd it feel? Anyways, I was just cutting onions for breakfast earlier, and I'm tearing up a little bit from it. So anyways, it was in my mind. But back to the important part, which is no matter what you do the first time, it's not easy. So don't focus on how it feels. Don't let that barrier that stops all of us from becoming a new, better version of ourselves stop you. Don't let something that feels unfamiliar and unnew, like, oh my God, I've never done something like this before I go to bed. Like usually when I go to bed, I do this, I do that, I do that. Yeah, well, keep doing what you usually do and you'll keep being who you usually are. I mean, there's no rocket science here. There's none. You don't see any rockets? Elon Musk ain't in this video, is he? There's no rocket science here, okay? So what you want to do before you go to bed, you want to go through that imagination act, okay? You want to do it every single night, right before you go to sleep, get the emotions. Now, here is step 2. This is arguably the most important step, but it's not that difficult. And so what it is the next day, we all talk about setting intentions, right? You've heard about setting clear intentions with elevated emotions. So this is a hugely popular topic right now. And so let me explain. So in the morning, oftentimes we have this morning routine that we don't take advantage of. Now, here's the interesting thing about the morning. You do go through theta state as you fall asleep, but you also come back up through it when you awaken in the morning. So you get 2 times a day, or 2 times a day, we'll call it, or 2 times within 24 hours, a better way to say it, where you can actually go into theta and come back through theta and take advantage of the programmable power, the suggestive power of this brainwave state. This is the brainwave state that hypnotists need to get you into to create change. So if you believe in hypnotists or don't, I can tell you one thing. I used to not, but now that I've seen and witnessed change with my friends and know more about it, it's very real. But it's only because they access the theta brainwave state. So you can access it at home. You can access it in your own bed. You can access it twice a day, okay? So what do we do in the morning? In the morning, you're gonna wake up, but here's the thing. It's find that fine point, and it takes a little time to get there, where your eyes haven't opened, your alarm hasn't startled you, the best way to do it, if you can, is without an alarm. You can try it with one. Just make sure it's a super, super soft one that you shut off quick and easy. But if you do it without one, it's much, much easier. That one point where you just start to feel like you're awakening, okay? And it's that fine line between becoming a little unconscious and a little conscious. And don't forget, conscious is where you start thinking like, oh my God, I need to do this, I need to do that. Like, what time is it? Like, I need to get to work. Da, 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 da. No, try to get to that point where you're like, okay, my body is starting to move and I'm starting to wake up, but you have not opened your eyes. At that point, I want you to reimagine the trait from the previous night. Think about, let's say, resilience. We'll stick with that. Like, today, I'm going to be resilient, and just walk through some imaginary act as to what you could do to be resilient. Feel resilient. Embody that trait throughout the day. That's the intention, okay? You feel the intention in the morning, or you feel the energy of the intention. So you set the intention of, today I will be resilient, okay? Just one thing you have to do all day. No matter what, you're resilient. It's almost like your superpower for the day, but there's only one. Sometimes, when we set these goals for the day, oh, today I want to do this, then I want to do that. There's all these things I want to do. You start to feel overwhelmed, you start to overthink, and you start to procrastinate. So what better way to solve that than to have one priority, one focus, one goal, one vision, one priority: resilience. Maybe it's strength. Maybe it's perseverance. Maybe it's assertiveness. Maybe it's self-love. Whatever it is, find your word, find your focus for one day, and you embody that trait throughout the entire day. And here's the fun part about it. Even though you might say, well, hey, that's not who I am. Like, I'm not resilient. Like, I'm trying to become resilient, and I'm not resilient. Here's me over here. I'm not resilient. You're telling me to become resilient. How can I just become resilient by focusing on it? Well, you would be surprised. Try it. If you say, today, I'm just going to act like, it's almost like an alter ego, right? Like, think about it. How many times have you dressed up for Halloween and you embodied a character? All it is like a character embodiment. It's like becoming an actor. It's like you're on a soap opera. We've all done it. You can act. You can behave as if. You can act as if. Act as if you're resilient. Now, here's what happens. Throughout the day, you say, all right, resilience is my word. Now, all of a sudden, something happens and you're like, oh. And you kind of say, well, today's resilient, so I better be resilient. I better maintain my alignment with my word of the day. I better maintain alignment with my focus. And then what do? You take an action that's a little more resilient than you normally would. And you say, whew, I actually kind of did that. That wasn't that bad. It wasn't that hard. I became resilient. This is the beginning of you becoming you 2.0 or you 2.1, right? You embody the desirable trait throughout the day, okay? Then the next day, you can reflect back and say, whoa, you know what? I have the proof that, or even that evening, you can say, I have the proof that I was resilient today. I exhibited the trait of resilience today. So what starts to happen is you start to provide the supportive evidence that this trait is inside of you. Because all of us can be resilient, all of us can be assertive, all of us can be all these desirable traits we have. However, we let our emotions and our past kind of hold us back from letting them flourish, letting these traits and our identity just become who we want it to be. We let our emotions of the past hold us back from being where we want to be now and who we want to be in the future. So go to bed, activate your imagination, feel the vibe, be grateful, get crystal clear on the desirable trait you want to possess. Go to sleep, wake up excited, wake up, say, wow, today I'm going to be resilient. I will act as if I'm resilient. I will become resilient, and I will create the supportive evidence to show that I have resilience. And guess what? I'm telling you it works. And then the next day you can be resilient again, or you can keep it fun. Next day, choose discipline. The other day, choose this. There's all kinds of desirable traits you can choose. Now, if you need a little guidance and you want a little help, we actually have a program where we have access to guided imagery audios that are 3 to 5 minutes long that walk you through one desirable trait every single night before you go to sleep. And then you have an accountability group where you post your intention the following day as to how you intend to embody that trait. Today, I will do this. Today, I'm embodying, assertiveness or self-worth, and here's how I'm going to do it. That is the 1-2 punch to becoming you 2.0. You 2.1, 2021 is your year, okay? Take action. Look in the link, the description below, and you'll find a link to it. But I'm telling you, this works. And we've got a super low price point on it to make it easy for anyone to get involved. And anyone that's tried the program so far has had some crazy things happen. Crazy cool. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. You guys are great. If you have any questions, there's plenty of options as to how to reach me below. And hey, if you want to check out some other videos, we got some other videos, so go check them out. They're right up here. There's one here, one there. But I really recommend you think about trying out our little program. It really works.